Hey, Devin. So we're finally
How you
here.
doing? Is this real? I think it's real. Well, so welcome. Yeah, ADHD on fire. I think it's a pretty cool name. Let's start there. What's ADHD on fire?
Such a great question, especially since we know we got some feedback, some critical feedback, with some
Did
people
we?
wondering why. Well, Mrs. Phelps was a little bit
Oh,
like,
Mrs. Fell,
what?
right?
Doesn't make any sense. And I think we loved it because we love the idea that ADHD, yeah, it is a fire, meaning it does burn everything it touches, but it can also really fuel people forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's positive and negative at the same time.
Yeah, and it's a power, just like fire, right? It's something that you kind of need to harness. And if it goes out of control, it could just kind of lead to this wanton destruction. But when you harness it, it could do amazing things.
And I think I'm right. The positivity of ADHD, like, is ADHD awesome or is it not? I think it's awesome. It can be awesome and it can be horrible. And what you do with it is going to make the difference. So I guess I'm excited to have a chance for us to hang out here in this space and talk to each other. And whoever is out there listening, we're happy to have you because be a fly on the wall of me and Nachi trying to figure this out and learn from each other and grow together and share what we know. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
that's the same thing that I'm excited about is that it's just a great opportunity to hang out as friends. And that's so much of what ADHD is about is really this like constant growth, like always trying to get better to improve. It's almost like we have this restlessness, which doesn't allow us to settle for just the status quo. We always need to be getting better.
It's being driven by a motor, which is classic ADHD. So let's yeah, let's do it. And I think that we probably should do this pretty often because we'll likely forget everything we talked about moments after we talked about it. So we just got to create this endless loop of conversation.
True. And hopefully one of us will at least remember to glance at the show notes. Maybe that'll help remind us what we just did.
Your first tip, the first tip from Dr. Feld, glance at show notes and you'll remember what you just did. Let's go. What's ADHD anyway? Just I think I want to let's give conceptualizations. What is it? How does it work? You do yours, I'll do mine, and then we'll see if we're on the same page.
Oh, yay. This is going to be fun. So, the way I understand ADHD is, in a way, this never ceasing energy, which can go in many directions. Oftentimes, it's an internal energy, and then it's how it's manifested that's unique to each person. But at the core of it is this like incessant like search and pursuit for things. And so in, let's say, inattentive type, right? So that would manifest as just like spacing out, always wondering about other things and like kind of cycling through many millions of thoughts and schemes inside our own head. And then for the hyperactive type, it would be doing many millions of schemes inside and outside of our own head. And then for the mixed or combined type, it would probably be a lot of both. But at the core is the same like ceaseless engine of just always looking to grow, to change, to be different and better, and always, always, always seeking stimulation.
Right. You once told me it's being a slave to stimulation. A
Yeah, I
slave,
like the
like,
phrase seeking
okay.
stimulation.
Okay. And I'm similar. I think I'm in a similar place. I just go with the concept of being an interest-based nervous system, which is really about um, not that you can't pay attention, you could. It's that you can't choose what to pay attention to. You can't prioritize. So whatever is the shiniest object in the room is going to grab your attention, and you just can't choose. So you're always going to do what's fun and interesting over what's important. So it's not a lack of focus or ability to focus; it's a lack of ability to choose what to focus on. And then the you're right. At its core, it's because your brain is understimulated, and if your brain is understimulated, then you're always going to need something to fill the bottomless gap. There's a bottomless barrel. You're just there's more and more and more. I don't remember who started this one, but it's the classic, um, the Ferrari brain with Chevy brakes. Do you have to be, I think, over 30 to know what that is?
Hallowell, I think, yeah.
And then how, yeah. So it's Ferrari brain with Chevy brakes. So you always need more and more and more, and nothing is ever enough. And then you generally get yourself into a nice amount of trouble along the way trying to navigate it. Naki, what do you want to talk about next?
I just wanted to point out that it seems like you're more into the slave to stimulation than I am.
Why is that?
Because you're almost, in a sense, taking away agency and saying that I can't focus on anything other than the shiniest thing in the room. And I like looking at it a little bit differently, which is that I have this never ending pursuit for stimulation. So I'm looking for stimulation, but I'm not necessarily a slave to stimulation. So this is like an improvement from what I've said in the past. Again,
Okay.
constant
And
change.
that was about a week and a half ago. So I'm glad you grew quickly. But my question is, okay, so what you're saying is that I'm being too black and white. I'm saying that it's impossible for you to choose important over interesting, and you're saying it's actually possible.
Yeah, I just need to somehow make it interesting. In fact, my friend David Becker has the 4 C's, which are ways to make things interesting and to give a person the agency to choose what they want to focus on.
Okay, so I'm not. Yeah, this is not a hill I'm going to die on because I think I'm willing to agree with it. I think you're right. Um, I'm being dramatic because really, to me, it's important for the non ADHDer, the neurotypical person who is missing the gift. Um, I want that person to really deeply understand that this is hard. It's really tough. So maybe impossible is too much. It's not impossible, um, but it's really, really difficult. And you're also right that if you're looking at it from the perspective of like, so what do I do about this? Because it feels pretty hopeless. Like it does. It feels hopeless that I'm never going to be able to choose something important. I'm always going to go with something interesting. But the answer is that, yeah, we're going to help. I guess that's what we're here for. We're going to figure out how to make it work for your brain, because if you can't do that, yeah, lots of trouble coming your way, or lots of interesting things that are not so important.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. That's putting it very, very, very nicely. Yeah, which brings us to, so what are we here to do? And that's exactly what we're here to do. It's just to help people figure out how to kind of direct that flow of interest and how to either what I like to call manufacture interest so that we could harness the stimulation seeker and turn it towards what we deem to be important or aligned with our truest, deepest values.
Good, but let's be honest. We're here to help ourselves figure out how to do that, and in the process, we'll help everyone else. I know you already helped yourself. I'm still a work in progress, so I'm here to help myself. But I think you would agree because you did say earlier that we need to. We're always seeking. We're always growing. We're always trying to
Always.
learn.
Yeah, and look at me. I just changed from a week and a half ago.
That's right. That's
Pretty
right.
sure I was on a podcast with someone who might be in this duo
That's
right
right.
here where I said that, just exactly that. And here I am switching.
Everyone should listen to that podcast. Masters of Social Work. It was great. It was great
It
having
was
you.
great.
Okay, so we're sort of on the same page. You mentioned the 4 C's, so I'm just gonna I'll share it, and that's really because I guess that's the next step. The next step is if you're just this is a broad overview. We're gonna have to get a lot more specific, but broadly speaking, if you're struggling with ADHD, that means, as Nachi pointed out, that it's really hard for you. Um, because you always need stimulation. So what's going to engage your brain? That's really the question. What's going to engage your brain? Because once your brain is engaged, then you're amazing. Dr. Dodson, our old friend, once told me he used this term. He said some people call it omnipotential. It's almost like a godlike ability to do whatever you want, whatever, you can get anything done if you could just connect, you could just engage with it. So the 4 C's that are something that's creative, right? So it's new, novel, interesting, um, challenging. People with ADHD love a good challenge. That's why we're here, because we challenged ourselves that we're going to make a podcast, and then eventually we had to figure out how to do it. And now I don't know, we're in a studio, there's a producer, this might actually happen. It was good.
Took us a year and a half to get there, but we did it, by golly.
Well, because also we have no sense of time, so it felt like a week. But yeah, challenge. Competitive. People with ADHD are highly competitive. That will come out, I think, whenever we don't agree on something, such as if competitive is different than challenge, which is an old disagreement we have. And then crisis or urgency. So urgency will unlock the ADHD brain. Um, you could get immune to urgency if enough times you feel urgent and then nothing bad actually happens. But generally, when you feel a certain urgency, there's a deadline. It's like, I got to get this in by tomorrow. I have a deadline. Okay, now I could do it. I could just share myself. Often I'm asked to speak at family events and things like that, and I could have a few weeks heads up that I'm going to be speaking, and I will think about it over those few weeks, not infrequently. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? I have nothing to say. Like, I need to come up with something brilliant, funny, witty, creative. A song, something. And I'll think about it. Nothing will happen. Nothing. I'll just be a blank, and then either the night before or the day of or an hour before or as I'm waking up, my brain will unlock because it will feel that sense of urgency, and then I'll be able to do it. I'll come up with something really good, really different, really unique, just because my brain unlocked because it became urgent. It's not a great way to live. It's really not, but it's
I'll
effective.
make it a little bit more personal. Like when I get that same, strangely enough, similar experience, I can't eat that whole day. The night before, I'm tossing and turning in bed, nervous and insecure. How am I going to look? I feel all the unspoken expectations of this phantom audience that I think really cares about what I'm going to say. And in reality, is just looking at their phone, waiting for me to finish. But still, for me, it's really stressful. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling that carries me through a whole day of just like nervousness, no appetite, just constantly kind of worrying about it. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. And then what happens in the end? You make it through.
Yeah, and I'm always amazing. And it's
You're
like
always awesome,
like
right?
a phenomenal presentation. Everyone's like, wow. And it's a similar experience as you, which is it unlocked. I just unlocked, and in the moment I just exploded with like tremendous potential and creativity.
So I have a question. I have a very, very interesting question based on that. So I've heard this said. I forgot where I got it from. It was someone. It was someone who's big in this field who suggested this idea that if you know this about yourself, so this is a nice coping mechanism. It's a tool that you can use. Instead of stressing out for 3 weeks about the speech you have to give or the presentation you're going to give, and getting down and more increasingly anxious, what if you just relax and tell yourself, self, I got this. I know this is a familiar pattern. I know it's going to work out. I know that at some point it will become urgent, and I'll be okay. And then just officially be a last minute person. Like, don't work on becoming organized and scheduling and all the felt
Method.
method, the felt forum method, all of that stuff. Drop it. Just accept that this is going to be you. At the last minute, you're going to get it done. You always do. So why stress?
I love that. It's kind of like challenging actually to think about that. And what made it even harder to think about it is that you used one of my own code words, which is acceptance. But as I'm thinking about it, I think the answer that I had, maybe a self-defensive answer, was because I know I'm way better when I plan. I'm so much more clear when I prep. And that potential becomes so much more powerful. And I love this word, potentiate, where I could kind of act on that potential. Is increased tenfold to the degree that I put in preparation. So granted, you and I probably always have an amazing, family function presentation, but we both know, right, what we could have done better. We both know what we missed. We both know that we totally forgot about that quote that we wanted to say, but then we kind of fumbled it and just made it seem really slick and moved on. But we know, we track every single little tiny misstep that we've made. And you're right, everyone else is going, wow, oh my God, that was hilarious. Wow, so clever how you pulled in the family, the other side's,
Right.
family history, so cute.
Yep.
And meanwhile, we just picked it up from little bits and pieces of data that we overheard as we were walking into the room. But the point is that I know for myself that there's so much more to me. And I bet that there are many people out there also who know that there's so much more to themselves as well. And for instance, when I prep for my classes, I used to, when I first started teaching in a high school, I was a high school English teacher. I taught English lit. I taught social studies, American government, and like economics. And I remember I didn't have time to prepare all of those like studies and subjects. And I would come in reading the book as I walked in, and I would weave together the most masterful, interactive, engaging class that these students have ever had that day. And I know that even though they loved it, at the end of the day, I felt that there was more to me. There was more to this class. There was more potential. And now, for instance, when I teach now, I prep in advance. I have the book. I take over notes. And I even walk in with a lesson plan in my pocket. How non ADHD is that, right? To walk in with a lesson plan. That's crazy. But for me, I feel so much more tight, so much more like powerful and clear when I have prepared, and I feel so much more in control, and that gives me calm, and I love that. I love feeling clear, calm, and in control.
So what I'm hearing from you then is acceptance is important, but acceptance doesn't mean surrender.
I love that, which is why in my book or in the felt method, I call it accountable acceptance, which is there needs to be an aspect of accountability, because too much acceptance could lead to, this resignation or surrender. So I'm very happy you picked up on that. Yeah, 1,000%. Such a good point. There's no surrender here. There's no giving up. There's no giving in. There's a tactical retreat to fight better another day, but
Yeah.
it's never a surrender.
I guess I would think of it as a bridge. It's almost like to some extent you'll need to accept, I think, that because you're not going to be super capable, um, to the there's always going to be a place where you can grow and be better and be more planful. I mean, the fact that you're coming into class with lesson plans, that just makes me want to continue to challenge the diagnosis for you. Like, maybe this is not ADHD. Just saying. Seriously, lesson plans, that's ridiculous. What ADHD teacher has lesson plans? But the reality is that maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's like, I'm accepting that my process will probably look different than most people's, but that doesn't mean that I have to wait for the last minute and just rely on urgency. Maybe there are things that I can do, steps I can take to help me become a little bit better and deliver a better product.
Yeah.
Even my product is great. Like, I could have a great product. But you're right. Like, in teaching, I found that sometimes I'm more prepared and sometimes I'm less prepared. And I think I'm definitely better when I'm not winging it. I'm definitely better. Like, I have more, the material is clearer, it's sharper, it's clearer to me.
Wait, was
Um,
that just an inferred admittance that you have also prepared? Wait a minute, David Becker, have we just caught you in your
yeah,
own
but not, not in the way that you're talking about.
mirror?
I think I'm a ways away from that level of functioning, but yeah. So how, I guess that would be a logical next place to think about is what that looks like. But before we get there, I don't want to go. I don't want to go tangent to tangent to tangent to tangent and forget where we started.
But isn't that ADHD? Like that basically is the style.
Yeah. Also, I forgot where we started. To be
Well, I
honest,
wanted to just go back to finish off this acceptance thing, because I'm really liking the idea of accountable acceptance.
right?
Mostly,
And
most
what did you say?
potentiating.
Potentializing,
Yeah, potentiating.
potentiating,
I
which you
love
made
it.
up.
Yeah, it could be I made that word up, which I'm okay making stuff up. I'm a professor. I can make things up. But what I liked about your point is that some of this acceptance is knowing, in a way, this helps me calm myself. Because think about it. When I have that pressure, of like, oh my gosh, I have this presentation or I have this class. I got to do, I got to do it. And I really want to be amazing. That sometimes itself obstructs the process and gets in our own way. In a way, what I found for myself and many of my clients is that when we feel pressure, like too much pressure, it actually holds us back. And so, in a way, I like utilizing some aspects of this acceptance that, you know what, it's probably going to be fine. And whatever happens, whether I prepare or I don't prepare, it'll be good enough. The old good enough model. And that itself is calming and then allows me to begin like the process of self-seduction, which I've mentioned in other podcasts and could dive a little bit deeper into here if either of us remember it after I finish this sentence, which is then after I've accepted myself, right, and I can kind of calm myself down knowing that it's probably going to be okay, then I could start the process of working on it and actually being the better self that I could be and potentiating.
So it's almost like I have nothing to lose because it will be okay either way. So why not make it better? Okay, I
Yes.
like that. That's cool. That's cool. So it's like, okay, I have this speech. It's gonna be fine, right? It's gonna be fine. So I don't have to stress over it and feel pressure. I can accept that it'll be okay. But at the same time, I can find ways to make it better. But my challenge, this is my question for that is, I said 4 C's, right? So we knocked out crisis now because acceptance. Um, well, I guess no. We still have the potential crisis down the road, but it's not here now as a motivator. So what's motivating me now? I'm down to challenge, competitive, and creative. And for some reason, this I might need your help understanding this. Creative isn't activated yet. I can't unlock creative before crisis.
That's
Right
interesting.
before E, except after C. So it's um, creative doesn't come till crisis. So you want me to turn on creative earlier. How are we doing that?
So this is part of our fundamental disagreement about competitive and challenge, which is to me, competition and challenge can generate creativity. Meaning if I'm able to motivate myself by accessing that part of me that's super competitive and wants to give the most amazing knockout speech, then there's a part of me that will always be looking for just the right joke and will try to be pulling in as much data as I can about current events to tie into like whatever the topic under discussion would be at the table. Because I want it to be the most amazing speech ever, like biggest crowds, best speech ever.
Huge.
Huge. That's like where I'm accessing that creative part of me through the harnessing of my challenge or competition. Meaning, in a way, it is a challenge. So the danger we have here is that if I calm myself down with acceptance, does it become less competitive or less of a challenge? And to that, I think a lot of people are worried. They're afraid that if I calm myself down and I say, you know what, it's going to be okay, then they've lost, right? They've lost the sense of crisis, like you just pointed out, right? They've also lost out challenge and competition, and then they're gone. They're goners. What are they supposed to do? And so what I say back to that is not necessarily. You didn't have to lose it, right? Because it's not black or white. Really, within all the shades of gray, you could find a place to develop and to, in a way, grow and nurture that sense of competition, to nurture the sense of challenge. I think one time you've asked me in the past, right, what gives you the drive? How come you're so relentless in your pursuit of success and being the best you could be? And I've struggled with that. I think I answered you some, like, really probably a pretty decent answer in the moment because, again, crisis unlocks awesomeness. But it kind of lingered in my brain after we spoke. And I was thinking about it more. And as we're talking now, I think this also is a part of it. The part of it is that I have that same non-unique generic ADHD drive, right? That relentless drive to improve, to get better. And this is why, again, I affirm my diagnosis because the proof is in the pudding. Look at me, never
Sure,
stopping.
you do. Go ahead.
And so the idea is that when we have this in us, that like just ceaseless energy to grow and to seek stimulation, that could look like drive and perseverance that other people don't have. The thing that gets in our way is that oftentimes when we're met with constant failure, we often feel like it's not worth it. And I can't keep pushing myself. And in a way, that itself deflates, right? The competition, the challenge, and in a way, like you said also, and I really like this point, it even deflated the sense of crisis because we just feel like, it's not going to be that
Right.
bad anyways. I'm a
We'll
loser
be
anyways.
okay.
So.
Mhm.
Well, worse than that. It'll be okay, but because I'm just a loser anyways, so like whatever.
So how am I? Okay, I'm getting there. How am I activating? So we knocked out crisis, but we're going to use challenge or competitive to be able to activate creativity.
Yeah.
Tell me how.
So I'm very into this, which is the idea of competing against myself. It goes back to the line I said earlier, which is that only we really keep score of everything that's going on inside us. No one else
Hmm.
either notices or gives a hoot. There are people who will notice, right? I guess other people with ADHD, just like us, who also notice the weird, tiny little observations that no one else notices.
Hmm.
But even then, like it's in their head and out, boom, in like under half a nanosecond, and it's just over. We're the only ones who really care. So part of this idea of like recognizing that we have this phenomenon of a phantom audience is something that I feel we could harness and use to our advantage, which is okay, how do I want to present to this phantom audience while at the same time accepting it's a phantom audience? It's not real. It's all just a figment of my imagination, but I want to use it to be my best self so that when I get down from that podium, I feel awesome.
Because you know what you're capable of. So you know you could give an amazing speech that everyone will love, or a knockout speech that not only will everyone love, but you'll know you gave it your best. It wasn't just a last minute, shoved together type of situation. And
Exactly.
that will get you. And Ari Tuckman, our good friend, talks about time horizon, and how far out you can project. So the speech is, let's say, on a Tuesday night. How far out will this work? So it's going to get you going
At
2 weeks.
best, the night before.
Oh. Okay, you just changed the whole discussion. I'm talking about, like, I'm thinking like, okay, 2 weeks, a week,
I'm
3 days. You're like,
teasing. I'm teasing. I'm
yeah,
teasing. Really, you could do it earlier. It's just a sense of how you could do something else. Ari says, which is to feel future feelings. He doesn't actually say that, but he says something like that I just turned into triple F's. But it's his
right.
idea. I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. Feeling future feelings allows us to kind of use that amazing, super powerful imagination of ours to feel it, to imagine the crowd, to try to like figure, like just even like imagine holding the lectern, right? And being able to imagine that, like standing in front of a crowd and then the, I have no idea what to say, versus the, all right, let me just slay this. And that's really up to us. And that's choice. That's free will. And we have the ability to do that. We're not a slave to stimulation, but we sure as heck could harness stimulation.
Okay, so feel future feelings, the three Fs. That means even a week out, let's say,
Totally.
I
2 weeks,
can,
a
I
month.
can. So it's like guided imagery type of concept. I can
Totally.
think about it. I could picture myself there. I could feel it, and then I could hopefully unlock creativity and write the speech 2 weeks early.
Yeah, and not only that, with acceptance, you know that you don't want to even write out every word because you know you're going to change it a million times anyways between now and then. But to write out like at least a flow chart, all right, or bullet points, and then as we go, our brain is so awesome that it'll be thinking of all the coolest little things. As you're walking down the street and you see that little like, I live in New York, so there's like these little like electronic like sign things where New York City posts random factoids. I've actually been walking down there and noticed something out of the corner of my eye and incorporated that into a speech. Why? Because once I already had a basic idea of what I was going to present, my brain is searching for anything and everything I could use to fill it in, enhance it, make it better, and make it pop. Why? Because I'm always seeking stimulation. I want it to be the most amazing, exciting thing for me. Forget the crowd. I want it for me to be exciting. I enjoy the challenge of weaving together all these random disparate facts and putting them together in this beautiful, cohesive, clear, popping presentation.
Nice. So you want to know something funny? This is really funny. About, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes ago, you mentioned something called self-seduction, and you're like, and I'll explain what that is if either of us remember in a minute. And we both forgot. And as you're talking about the sign in the New York or whatever, I like popped into my head, oh my gosh, we never got back to that. So you said that part of this is going to be using self-seduction. What does that mean?
Self seduction is actually one of my coolest concepts. It's something I've used ever since I was really, really young. I just never had a scientific term for it until I developed the self confidence to make up terms for whatever I want.
Hmm.
So,
And you
um,
haven't stopped since because
correct.
you're
I
on your
love it.
fourth term of the day. Yeah, go ahead.
And The idea of self-seduction is trying to take a step back and realize, like, what is seduction? And this is going to get a little risque, but don't worry, we're going to keep it nice and professional. Which is, seduction is very different than any other kind of like related activity, because it's where you're kind of generating some sort of consent or interest from the other party. It's in a way trying to access the part of them that also wants this. And so that's exactly what's happening with self-seduction. Is I'm trying to access that other part of me that really also wants this. Even though there are a lot of other parts of me that are like, nah, not now. Let me go first check the news, or I think I'm hungry. All right, what's in the fridge? Right. So there are so many other parts of me that are not really interested right now, but I'm trying to seduce the part of me that is. And so it could utilize, right, the idea of, guided imagery or feeling the future feelings, right? But the idea really is to try to find that part of me. And sometimes what I find, at least for myself, is that if I dig deep enough, I could find a part of me, a core value that really, really deeply, badly wants this. And then I fan the flames of that interest until it's burning within me. And I've now accessed these C's, right? This creativity, the challenge, the competition, sometimes even the crisis. Again, I view crisis as more of an external thing that I could manipulate to feel internally also.
Yeah,
And the idea is to use the concept of like seducing ourselves, which is to find a part of us that does want this and to fan the flames until that desire is burning within us. And now we've controlled our feelings to direct us where we want to be and to where we
got
want
it.
to go.
I think you're touching on something we should address in a future episode, which is really, I guess, motivation, like the concept of being internally undermotivated. So it's just harder to get going. Like that task initiation, just getting started is hard because the internal motivation is not that strong, not as
Yeah,
strong
this
as it
is
needs
it.
to be.
This is it. This is how you do it. Self seduction is like the key to mastering our own motivation. I used to use the word manipulating our motivation, but it has like negative connotations. So
Mhm.
try to stay away from that. But to me, it's the same thing. Like if I'm manipulating myself, like, isn't that a good thing? Right? Wait, so who's the one being used? Wait, me? Wait, which me? So like I'm all for the idea of manipulating ourselves. I don't know why self seduction is any better, but apparently it just has a nicer ring to it. But it's the same idea. It's how I could challenge and harness my own feelings to get ourselves to feel what I need to feel. I think you've said this before, quoting Barkley, right? The idea that ADHD is a point of performance, right? You say pop, it's a
The
pop
struggle
problem.
and the pop, right?
Yeah, which is point of performance, which is how do I get myself to do what I know I'm supposed to do, right? Because it's not a knowing problem. Most of us, especially those of us with ADHD, we know what we need to do. We've been reminded a million times by our boss, our spouse, our friends, our colleague, our coworker, right? We know, right? We know. The problem is that we don't feel. And that's where it all comes down to this is that it's all about feelings. Successful ADHD management is about controlling the feelings. Me being in charge of my feelings, me calling the shots of what I feel, how I feel, and when I feel it. If I can't do that, then you're right. I turn into a slave to stimulation. But if I could do that, I'm now the master of my own stimulation and I can really master myself to seek and pursue stimulation wherever I deem it necessary or appropriate.
I want to drill down on this because I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. It sounds fascinating and I love it, I think. Or I hate it. I'm not sure. So let's go back a second. We identified ADHD as being a point of performance struggle, which means you're struggling in the moment, right? Like going back to where we started, in the moment, you're choosing what's important, what's interesting over what's important, right? You're not choosing what's important. You're choosing what's interesting over what's important. And part of the issue is because there's not enough motivation to do the important thing because the interesting thing is more stimulated. And you
Yeah, could
want
I just clarify what that means?
go.
The way I understand that is that there's not enough feeling, right? So I break this down, right? Motivation, I've broken down to three parts, right? There's interest, which is this general, vague, intellectual interest of like that I know it's important. I guess the better word would be important, right? So
Important.
I know something's important, right? So there's the
Mhm.
I, that it's important. Then there's the D, which is desire, that I kind of do want it. I do want this. I do want to get my paper done before it's due. I do want to get the quarterly report in before my boss is going to ask for it. I do want it. But the problem is if I'm missing that last step, the F, the feeling, ain't nothing gonna happen. So you need to have all three, right? The importance, the desire, and the feeling.
Which is, of course, IDF.
Yeah, it's importance, desire, and feeling. And if you don't have it, if you're not able to access all three of them, then you could have the most important thing in the world and the most desire in the world. But if you don't have the feel, if you're just not feeling it, then it ain't gonna happen. I have this great phrase from the British that I stole from my
No,
father's country.
no. Hold on, one second. Before the British phrase, one second. I'll remind you. I think maybe, but I want to. I want to get this. I got importance. I got desire. I want to understand feeling better. So what I'm hearing from you, I think, is that in the moment where I have to make a choice, right? I want to do something important. I don't know. I want to go. I want to prepare for class because I'm teaching a class, right? But also, I don't know, something fun interesting going on in the news. Yeah. So I also want to get distracted by the news because I don't know, whatever Trump did today, which is fascinating. So
Or free.
I need right. I need ID and F. So I is interest. So I have the interest.
Importance.
Importance. Oops, sorry. I is importance. It is important for me to prepare for class. That's in place. Okay. D is desire. I want to prepare for class. So
Even if I don't want to prepare for class, I want to not have the feeling of dread that I need to prepare for class. I want the relief that I've prepared for class. You hear what I'm saying? The desire is not
okay.
limited to the item, the target item, right? It could be even the secondary gains from this item.
It could be positive or opposite of negative,
Exactly.
right? I want to avoid the negative of going into class unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
But I and D is not enough because I'm still gonna watch the news. The F part of the IDF, like we're how does that work? You're saying, is it the same thing as feeling future feelings? That means in the moment I need to bring up the feeling in me of preparing for class.
Yeah,
And
that's a part of it. Meaning the real question is, how do I F, right? How do I access feelings? How do I somehow feel what I need to feel when I need to feel it?
okay, and how will that get me over the edge where I'm going to choose the thing important over the thing that's interesting?
Because deep down, what we really want and what we really do are the things that we feel. Right? With ADHD, because it's so much of a stimulation, like that we're so much seeking stimulation, in that world of stimulation, feelings beat thoughts hands down any day, one hand tied behind his back.
Okay, so
Okay.
the missing motivation. I'm not. I
Missing
don't have a
piece. Missing piece of motivation. Motivation is a giant murky subject, right? And what
good.
we've just done with the IDF is that we've shown a light onto it, and we've made it so much more clear and scientific that there are three parts. There's the importance, a critical foundational piece of motivation. There's desire, which is probably the big bulk of motivation, right? What most people colloquially are referring to when they say motivation, right? And then there's the final piece, which is I think the real catalyst for action, which is the feeling. Without that feeling,
Right.
without the urge to merge, the urge to move towards something, we ain't gonna move towards something. Because if I don't feel it, I'm not gonna. Now, sometimes you might get that feeling from a crisis, right? You might get that feeling from competition, from challenge, from all of the above. You might get it all just because you're feeling like it's 3 minutes before the due date, right? And then you just quickly run it together, right? So again, but that was still a feeling. You see that? How it's a feeling? It all comes down to a feeling.
Yep. Okay, I'm good. The feeling is the missing component of motivation. Maybe in ADHD, that's the missing piece. So if we fill in the missing piece using FFF or guided imagery
Or even self-seduction. It doesn't have to
or
be
self
like
seduction,
this picture that we imagine in our minds. It could even be accessing a part of us that really,
it's
really
all
badly
coming together, meaning it's going to be one of those. Either
triple
they're
F.
all going to work together, they're going to blend together, and that will get you motivated enough to do the important thing over what's interesting.
Yes.
Okay,
Because
so
then
let
you
me ask.
become, right? No, but really, David, this is where you take your four C's or three and you use them to generate and create that feeling. Right now, I'm hoping that this gives you a little more clarity in how people could apply your four C's. Because most of the times they already have the importance. A lot of times they already have the desire. The reason why they're coming to us or why they're feeling like stuck, right, is because they don't yet have the feeling, which brings me back to that British phrase, right? And I think
Yes.
this
That I
captures
promised I
exactly.
would remind you, and I completely forgot.
Don't worry, you got me on the self-seduction part, so we're even. The idea that the British, and it's so British. Oh my gosh. Ready? The phrase is, I can't be bothered. I
Mhm.
can't be bothered. Right? It's this like, uh, right? I think the American phrase is obviously much lazier, and it's this. Ready? Meh.
Got it. I can't be bothered.
Right? That's what captures it. It's that I'm sitting there and I'm like, I really should do my quarterly report. Meh.
Can't be
Let's check
bothered.
what's on YouTube, right? What's America's Got Talent up to? Like something like that. Something more stimulating, something more fun, something that I have more of an urge towards.
Okay, ready for this?
Mhm.
Ready? Da-dan, da-dan, da-dan. A summary. What did we talk about here today? This is our first episode. Like, I feel like I want to walk away from it with like something clear that I gained from today. I'll tell you what I remember. You tell me what you remember. Uh, I remember that I can't be bothered. I think I'll
That's a
never
great
forget
one,
that one.
right?
Uh, we I think we conceptualized what ADHD is. We talked
Yeah.
about the keys to unlock the ADHD brain. You brought up some cool stuff like the FFF, which is
Feel.
feeling future feelings. Um,
I love it because it's the same word twice, but it means something
yeah,
totally
the
different. I just love
scam.
that stuff. Yeah.
F3. It's
Mhm.
F3. And then also self seduction.
Love
Talked
that
about
stuff. Mm.
and then the keys to motivation, which is IDF, which is important, desire, and
The most
feeling.
important one. Yes,
Right,
feelings.
and feeling is a key. I feel like we should spend a lot more time on that. Okay, so now that we got through the summary, did I miss anything? We're good.
That was it. I think the main thing that ties this all together is your pop, right? That like really the
Point of
presenting
performance.
problem for ADHD is point of performance. And what we have just done is identified that the key impediment and like really the crucial like turn like that ignition for all of that is feelings. And so if you can control your feelings, you can control your life.
Again, if you can control your feelings, you can
Getting
control your
yourself
life.
to do what you to feel to that you want to do the thing that you need to do, or getting
Okay,
yourself to feel excited for something that you're not excited for, or getting yourself to like be pumped up for something that you've totally terrified of doing, then you now have mastered your life. You are the one calling the shots and you're directing that stream of stimulation in the direction that you want your life to go. And now you're in
awesome.
charge. You're the master.
Love it, and it sounds like something I would subscribe to. So, speaking of which, what are we what are we talking about next time? Because we need to practice what we've preached and prepare and unlock and all that, and not wing it. Where do you want to go from here?
So I think that our original plan from the guy who has lesson plans before he walks in was
Hmm.
that we were going to use the outline of the felt method, right? That I'm going to outline in my book, Self Empowerment, as the outline for this, just so that we could kind of use as a way to kind of expand each concept, get a little bit deeper into it. I think that it's going to make me grow by having to explain it and be challenged by you and kind of have to actually make sure it makes sense enough to someone else that could challenge me and take me on. And I think that as we do that, we're really going to kind of guide ourselves and whoever's listening to how to kind of actually master your own mind, how to be the one who's calling the shots and to do that through controlling your feelings. So I think that in the outline, the next thing we're probably going to do is dive into an deeper understanding of the problems that get in our way. Like what's holding us back. When we can figure out what's holding us back, knowing the problem is already half the solution.
So, if you're the type of guy who wants to grow, wants to learn, wants to change, stick around. If you're the type of guy who can't be bothered, definitely stick around. You need to be here. Alrighty, Nachi, it's been great. Take care.
Always
Be
is.
good. I'll see you next time.
Take care, Dev.